Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Life Health Show. I'm so excited about today's guest. It's another return guest. It's one of my favorite topics. Everybody say hello to Ted Carr. Hello, Ted.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Ted, you would classify yourself as a fruitarian, correct?
Yeah, that's an interesting. We should talk about that, man, because everyone's got a different definition of fruitarian. Some people say it's 100% fruit only. Some people say it's like you're 100% raw, but you're fruit based. Other people say it's just purely like
Okay.
if 90% of your calories come from fruit. So I consider myself fruitarian because a lot of days I am just on just fruit, but there are other days where I include some other things. But just because a runner doesn't run every day doesn't mean you don't call him a runner.
Exactly. We'll get into the titles and the labels, and that's the terrible introduction, everybody. I apologize. This is Ted Carr, who's been eating a vegan diet for almost 14 years now. Very, very high raw foods to it. Traveled the world. I first met him online as he was traveling in Malaysia and Thailand and teaching people about how to live out there and living off the land and the fruits. It was amazing. And so he has a great website and he does a lot of great videos. So how you been, Ted? How are you doing?
I'm doing the best I've ever done before.
Great, great. So just so everybody knows, Ted is very much into fitness and he's not dancing right now. He's walking on a treadmill. So
Thanks.
he's keeping fit. So Ted, tell us, what tell us about your lifestyle. Tell us before we get into the topic of today, tell us about what you're doing now, where you're at right now.
Yeah, about my lifestyle. I live a different lifestyle than most people. I lived a lifestyle that was once just a dream. You know, I saw people on YouTube making money full-time online, living there, working for themselves, selling ebooks, courses, coaching programs. And that was a dream for me. I was working a 9-to-5 job. And now I live that life. I make my money online and I just work out and help people for a living. So it's a very different lifestyle than most people you see driving their 9-to-5s.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Okay, and do you have a family or are you just doing this alone?
I don't have any kids or a wife, but I have family.
Okay, okay, so your immediate family, but do you live alone? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, I live alone.
Okay, okay. And I know you used to travel a lot. Do you still travel a lot?
Unfortunately, no. Just because of what's been going on in the world,
Sure, sure.
I've been unable to. But I do like to travel. Oh, no, I'll correct that. I like to hang out in new places, but I hate the traveling part.
Exactly.
Like
Okay.
if I could just transport to Florida and chill, I'd be super down. But the fact that I have to go to the airport and try that, I don't like that.
Yes. All right, everybody. Ted is in Canada right now, and Ted maintains a vegan diet with a lot of raw food in his diet in this cold environment of Canada. And how is that? Because you've been to tropical environments all over the world. Do you find it much easier in tropical environments? Because Canada gets some great produce. I remember when I lived in New York, I had no issue doing it. So how is it in Canada?
Yes, it's a good question. So, do I get better access to better fruit living in the tropics? Yes, absolutely. But a lot of people will complain about the cold, and then you ask them, well, where do you spend most of your time? And they'll tell you in their house. Yeah, okay, well, what's the temperature in your house? And they're going to tell you it's a comfortable temperature. No one has a house freaking freezing cold. So my house is like I walk around shirtless and naked most of the time in my house. So it doesn't matter if I'm in Canada or in California, I'm going to be fine, you know, regarding the temperature. The only time I'm outside is if I'm in between my house and walking to my car or something, you know, for 2 seconds. So temperature's not an issue. I do fine. I'm able to source really good fruit like you were able to do in New York. I can go to the store and get really good fruit. I can also order fruit online. And yeah, I have no issues whatsoever getting quality fruit.
Yes. Now, one of the issues I had when I was going raw many, many years ago is I lost a lot of weight. And people said, "Oh, you look too skinny. You look too skinny." And I admit, from the average uh, way I used to look, and with the pounds I lost with my clothes on, I did look skinny. But I know I was stronger than ever before, and I wasn't at the time trying to impress anyone, saying, "Well, I'm cut up and I have muscles and I can lift more per body weight." Now I just wanted, they just told me I look skinny. Well, I've gotten to a point where people got used to the way I look, so they don't say I look skinny. They say, "Oh, your skin looks great." I mean, and so on. So not that we're vain, but vanity does have to do something, and vanity is a bad name. Our appearance has something to do with this as health teachers. So you've created an appearance, or you've gotten your body into really good shape. Now, before we get into what you do and how you did that, do people that used to know you before, when they see you with your clothes on, think, "Wow, you lost so much weight, you look great," or do they say you look too skinny?
Now?
People that knew you before you were into health, when you were
Oh,
growing up, and now
well,
they see you, but now with your
that,
clothes up, they see you with your clothes on. Did they say you look great, or did they say you look kind of thin?
well, like you said, I've been vegan for 14 years. So it's been a long time. But like you, when I first went raw, I got too skinny. I dropped down to 125 pounds. I felt amazing though. Like arguably I felt the best I've ever felt in my life. Like physically, I felt so light and clean and pure, right? 125 pounds. Um, but then I started eating more. And when you eat more calories, what happens? You put on some weight. So now I'm at 170 pounds. And no one comes up to me and says you're too skinny, 170 pounds. I'm bigger than a lot of guys at the gym. So that's kind of gone now.
Yes. So 170, how tall are you?
5'10" and a half.
Okay, 5'10" and a half, 170. Now that is, I mean, we're going to talk about the muscle versus fat part of it in a moment here, but a 5'10", 170, that's average. A 5'10" person should be 170. That's not considered too much or too little from a weight standpoint. Isn't that considered average?
Well, if I didn't have, I've been 170 before. I was 170 a couple of years ago. I didn't have as much muscle and I looked fat. Like I was genuinely fat. I had like a tub. I could like squeeze a big tub of fat at 170. So now that I'm 170 with a lot of muscle, it looks good. So it depends if that's 170 of fat or 170 of muscle, you know?
And that's important because when people always ask, uh, how much does somebody weigh, or they go by weight, that's a very, it's not a complete question because the weight can be packaged in a different way, so to say.
Totally.
Now, first,
Totally.
how'd you get fat eating a vegan diet or a high raw diet?
What was the question? Sorry.
You said you were 170 before,
Yeah.
and you were just on the fatter side, not as muscular. We're
Yeah.
going to talk about the muscular side, but how'd you get fat eating a vegan diet or a
Yeah. Great question. I intentionally decided to bulk. My idea was I'm going to bulk up and that's going to make it easier for me to put on muscle. I didn't realize that if you just over bulk and overdo it, you just purely get fat. And so I just ate as much as I could. And eating from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed with this constant intention of eat more, eat more, eat more, eat more, because I want to bulk up. It doesn't matter if you're overdoing the calories on watermelon juice or you're overdoing the calories on McDonald's. Extra calories are extra calories. Now, having said that, it's very difficult to consume extra calories on watermelon juice or something, right? It's possible, but it's extremely difficult, extremely uncomfortable. While on the other hand, it's very easy to overconsume calories eating dense foods like cooked foods or McDonald's, right? So when people say you can't gain weight on fruit, you absolutely can, but it's much more of a struggle and you have to pound it back with more intention. So yeah, I just gained fat by eating way too much fruit and probably too much cooked food.
Okay, so when you say you were fat, first, before you got into this vegetarian diet or this health thing, prior to 14 years ago, were you on the skinnier side or on the heavier side?
No, my max was 155 pounds, but that was fat. That was not like a good
Okay.
155.
Now,
That
when
was
we
like,
talk about fat, there's two things I would go by. So, number one is how big is your waist, or was your waist when you consider fat, and the other thing is your body fat count. So, what was your waist, let's say 2 years ago, when you said you considered yourself?
I've never taken a measuring band and wrapped it around. But I've always had quite a slim waist. I just don't know the number. But when I
So
go
even when
by,
you were fat, you had a slim waist.
yeah, but I don't carry much fat around that little section right around my waist. My jeans
Okay.
always kind of fit the same.
Okay.
But body fat percentage is an interesting one, dude. At my leanest, by eyesight, I was overt fat free for 3 years, low fat raw vegan for 3 years, very strict, no avocados, no coconut meat, nothing, no oil, nothing, just very, very strict low fat. And I was doing triathlon at the time, a lot of cardio, no strength training, but a lot of cardio. So super lean to the appearance. I went in to get body fat tested on a Dexa scan. Are you familiar with Dexa scans?
Little.
They're the most accurate measurement of body fat percentage. If you go to the gym and step on that body fat scanner, it's completely inaccurate. You have to either do an underwater submersion or a DEXA scan. Even the calipers are kind of off, but whatever. So I go and I get a DEXA scan. It's basically an X-ray, scans the weight of your water, your bones, your muscles, your fat, and tells you how much actual fat weight you have and percentage you have. So I walk in there to the clinic, pay like $200 to get this test. I asked the guy, I was like, dude, you've scanned how many people? Thousands of people? He's like, yeah. I was like, okay, what do you think I am based on how I look? Because I was a skinny raw vegan, right? And he's like, you look like probably around 11%, 10%. I was like, yeah, cool. That was my goal. I want to be like low, like around 10% was my goal. And I looked it. So I get scanned. The test results come back. And he's like, I never forget. He's like, ooh, and he looked concerned. I was like, what? He's like 18.7%. And I was like, how is that possible? And it kind of reminded him of when he used to scan anorexics. His highest body fat percentage he ever saw was 50% from an anorexic because they had no muscle. So it's either bone, it's all bone and fat, right? So even when I was at my leanest appearance, I was 18% body fat.
Wow.
And so a lot of people talk about, oh, he looks 10%, whatever. It doesn't really matter what the number is exactly, but yeah, I had no muscle. So he said the leanest people he's ever measured were bodybuilders. He saw 4% from a big bodybuilder, huge guy, but just so lean because most of his weight was actually muscle. So if someone wants to truly be lean, according to science, they just need more muscle. But I don't think people care about being lean according to science. People just typically care about being lean according to eyesight, right? So that's why people say anorexic. They look at anorexic and they're like, oh, wow, she's nothing but bone. Not true. It's probably half fat.
Yeah, because that's a very interesting thing. Because, like, for example, if you go take a life insurance test, they don't even have to look at you. They go by your weight and your height. So if it says on a paper, let's say a bodybuilder who has like 3% body fat, he could be way overweight for his height, but he could be completely muscle. And they don't take that into consideration, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very good point. So you are, so at eating a vegetarian vegan diet, you were at almost 19% body fat. Now that was low fat. That was a low fat
fruitarian, dude.
Wow.
Exercising every day, tons of cardio.
So at the time you were doing tons of cardio, how much weight bearing exercise were you doing at the time?
No, I would do some squat, like body weight squats, just some body weight squats, air squats.
Okay, is that what motivated you to get to the gym and hit the weights?
No, that motivated me to eat more fat. I was like, screw it. I've been neglecting avocados and fats for so many years to get this low level. And I'm like, I'm just going to eat. That day I came back, I started eating a bunch of avocados. Like, screw it. I'm never going to neglect fats again. An interesting story. Let's talk about this for a sec. When I was low fat raw vegan for those 3 years, I had zero body odor. There was no scent anywhere on my body. I was completely scentless. No boogers, no earwax. I was so clean, I guess you could say, for years. And once I incorporated the avocados and the fats again, guess what happened? I started getting a scent. I started getting body odor. And still to this day, I've never been able to completely eliminate that body odor, even if I do like a week of no fat or something. Like there's still some body odor there. But yeah, I thought that was interesting with the fats coming odor.
You started eating the fats again, and did that make the problem worse or better?
What problem?
Of your not almost 90% body fat, and you.
Oh well, no, it actually. Well, it's a good question. I only got tested again, maybe like 4 years ago, and I was like 21% body fat, but I was much more muscular. But I guess I just had way more fat on me as well. So
interesting.
I don't really now. I'm never even gonna get DEXA scanned ever again because I don't give a shit. All I care about is how do my pictures look, how many, how many likes and comments do I get? That's the true test.
Oh, really? That's interesting, because I would find out, just like you said earlier, to the eye, somebody looked lean, but their body fat was high. So I wouldn't think that we can only go by vision. We have to go by these tests. And you say different?
Yeah, but why do I care about the test? How does the test benefit me?
It just tells you where you're truly at. I mean,
I can look in the mirror, and that's all I care about.
Well, couldn't you have said that before when you went in, when you were lean and you went in for that original?
But back then I cared about DEXA tests. I thought that was like the be all end all. And I thought my vision, what I saw in the mirror and the pictures would line up with what the DEXA showed. And now I can see that's not the case at all. I thought there was a correlation.
Okay, but now you're much healthier because you've incorporated these new health tips in your life. But and this is for you, what you're doing. But wouldn't you say that's not the best advice for somebody to not care what that says, to just go in and go by what the pictures say, because they could make the same mistake that you previously made if somebody's concerned
Well,
about that?
you mentioned now I'm healthier. I don't know if I'm healthier now. I felt great back then. I feel great now. I could be equally healthy. I don't know. There's no like one key metric for health, right? You can't really get a blood
Okay,
test and like, oh,
fair
you're
enough.
100% healthy, right? So I don't know. I felt great then, felt great now, feel great now.
Okay, so let's get to the body fat slash. So you're not concerned with what your body fat number is right now. You're concerned with how your body looks.
And more than how it looks, I care about how it feels and how it performs.
Okay.
And the looks is just a plus. So the looks is a big plus because it's part of my business. But I'm very much into performance. I was a professional triathlete, and so if I can't run a certain speed or row a certain amount on the rowing machine, or I can't do a certain amount of pull-ups or bench press, that's an issue. Like I very much value my performance, my output. And the pictures, there is actually correlation between photos and performance. Like if you look at some guy's muscles, you can tell if that guy can do 20 pull-ups or not,
Absolutely.
typically you can
Absolutely.
tell. And the more someone can shoulder press, like the higher weight they can press, the bigger their shoulders are going to be. So there's typically a correlation between performance and photos. But my main thing is how I feel. So if I felt like all like gimped up and stiff and sore, I would never even be doing what I'm doing in the first place. But I feel great. I feel incredible. And I love what I do, which is I think why people love yoga so much, because yoga makes them feel amazing. Right.
Yes. Now I have to say that I'm in agreement with you, because I guess the point is, just because you're fit doesn't mean you're healthy or healthier.
Well, completely different.
Fitness and
Yeah.
health. Fitness is part of health, but it doesn't mean you're healthy.
100%. That's why
Yeah.
people are dropping dead like that, man.
Yeah. Especially, I remember a bodybuilder that I passed out on the stage because he was too low fat. He was putting suntan lotion on that just clogged up his pores, and it was just terrible. But and people were surprised. But fitness and health aren't necessarily the same thing. But
Totally.
performance measures where we're truly at in our muscular, with our muscles, and it's a great thing. And you said it best. Now, feeling good, I always say, is part of the health picture. You want to make sure your bowels are working okay, you're getting good sleep, you're not waking up, and there's many aspects to health. But feeling good, though, it can be tricky, because overstimulation, somebody could feel great, but that comes and goes. But if you feel good consistently without dipping and going high, that's energy versus stimulation.
Very good point, man. Yes, very good point. It's anyone can feel amazing after a cup of coffee if they're into that. Anyone can feel great after a line of cocaine. But as you said, it's just who can feel consistently great. That's the true test. So
Now,
for me, the benchmark is like, again, don't judge how you feel after a stimulant or coffee or whatever. Don't even judge how you feel after a workout. Judge how you feel first thing in the morning.
excellent.
Like that's an accurate picture of where you're at health wise. How do you feel when you wake up in the morning and go look in the mirror?
Now, speaking of that, so I want to hear about your exercise routine, where you're at now. But before we do that, how much are you eating now on the average?
How do you mean by that? Calories,
So
volume?
let's say how often, calories, let's say, what you're eating. What's your average diet like now?
Sure. So I typically eat 2 meals a day. And I eat the first one around 10 or 11 a.m. I wake up at 6, so I'm up for a while. First one around 10 or 11 a.m. And then the final meal around 3 to 4 p.m. So that's first things first. That's snapshot. 2 meals a day. Both quite big meals. No snacks in between, really. Nothing after, nothing before. First meal is pretty much always either juice or a smoothie. Juice or a smoothie. That's it. Or both. Juice first and a smoothie right after, whatever. Something like that. Something light and juicy and delicious, sweet. And then dinner is either the same thing I had for breakfast, another smoothie or another big meal of juice or something. or it's like a salad with a lot of fat, a lot of guacamole on there, or it's just a meal of fruit, like cut up bowl of fruit, whatever. Or if I'm having some cooked food that day, I might have like a bowl of sweet potatoes or a bowl of like quinoa or something with some guacamole on top.
Okay.
So very, very simple, 2 meals a day.
Now, what about supplements? Do you take any supplements?
I do take supplements. I'm not sure. I mean, the only supplement I've taken supplements for years, but the only supplement I've actually seen results from, and not to say that just because you don't see results doesn't mean you're not getting results from supplements, right? I could take a vitamin D3 supplement, not see any results, but my blood test might show differently. I could take B12, not feel a difference, but my blood test might show it differently. So just want to preface by saying that just because you don't see benefit from a supplement doesn't mean you're not getting it. But the only supplement I've actually seen benefit from, like physically seen benefit from, tangibly seen it, has been from creatine. So take about 2.5 to 5 grams of creatine per day. And that instantly gave me like a 3-pound boost in my weight and thus helped my performance in the gym because I had more mass to move more mass.
Do you count in your diet calories and grams of protein and grams of fat, or you don't even count?
Oh, that's I don't know how accurate you could be with that anyway, because you could crack open a coconut, it's hyper sweet, crack open the next coconut, it's just like water. How are you going to determine which coconut had more calories? Could be the same volume of coconut water, but one clearly has way more sugar in it than the other. So I don't know how people measure calories. Plus, one banana could be thinner and thicker than the other. The only way to do it is to freaking go to a lab, live in a lab. I'm not into that. So yeah, I like to let my body tell me if I'm overeating or if I'm undereating or if I'm just right on maintenance, right on that razor's edge. So
now, the creatine you're taking, is that from a
yeah, it's a vegan source. I get a vegan creatine.
So what's it made of?
Good question. I'd have to look into that, but it says vegan right on the thing. It says from a vegan source. I think there are some animal-based creatine sources.
I think most are, that there are some vegan ones as well.
Yeah, there's some vegan ones. Just like amino acids. You can get amino acids. I didn't know this, but some amino acids you get are from animals, some are vegan-based. So I also take amino acids, vegan-based amino acids.
Okay, so you're taking the creatine and the vegan.
Yeah, the amino acids I'm not like consistent with. The only thing I'm truly consistent with is the creatine, but the amino acids I throw in here and there. Okay. Just like I pop a B12 here and there. I take vitamin D3 here and there. I'm not super rigid on those, but the creatine I am rigid because I feel like if I'm lower on it, then my body will look a little smaller.
All right. So tell us about your exercise routine. So I remember years ago when you were working out and getting to the gym, you were doing it one way, and then you had to change or switch. You said, I was doing it way too much. I was going too much, and I was good. I was getting decent results. I remember watching it at the time and you were getting good results, but then you kind of cut back. You realized you were overdoing it. So anyone is about your transformation in your thoughts about working out.
Absolutely. So if you take anyone off the couch, some vegan twig or whoever, fruitarian twig, no muscular training experience, no bodybuilding experience, whatever, you get them to do anything in the gym. You can put them in there 7 days a week, freaking 14 times a week, whatever. They're going to see some sort of growth happen. The body will adapt, but they'll quickly run into a plateau. Everybody plateaus. They'll also probably, if they're working out 14 times a week, like I just described, they'll also probably run into injuries or at least little niggles, like little pains here and there, right? Wrist, shoulder, back, something's going to get super too stiff. So you combine hitting a plateau and getting, risking injury, feeling pain. Those are two very common things from people who get into lifting weights. So that was me. I just went into the gym like almost 5-6 days a week because I thought more is better. Stayed in there for a couple hours, as much as I possibly could, blasted absolutely everything, left completely wiped and fatigued, went back again, did it the next day. And I saw some benefits for sure, like everyone would. But then I got to a point where my weight, my gains stayed the same. I couldn't bench press more than before. I couldn't shoulder press more than last time. I couldn't bicep curl stronger than last time. Like everything just kind of plateaued. And I was like, oh, maybe I got to push harder. Maybe I need this, maybe I need that supplement or whatever. But it wasn't until I then cut back and I started working out every other day. All of a sudden, I was able to break through those plateaus. Oh, now I can bench press more. Now I can shoulder press more. Now I can bicep curl more. Wow. And my body started to look better too, because the stronger you are, the better your body looks when you cut away the fat after. So that was amazing. I did that for about a year, every other day. And that was my message on social media. I kept telling people, just do every other day, right? You work out one day, skip the next, do the next. But now I've cut back even further. Now I just do 3 times a week, and I'm tempted to do 2 times a week. So now I do 3 times a week. I just work out Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday. So I very much cut it back, because I realized that the more time I give my body to recover, the more, it's not necessarily well, you don't need more, you just need the right amount. If I give my body the right amount to recover, it will recover, and I'll be able to grow bigger, faster, and stronger. So by giving myself only 3 days to work out per week, I give myself, what is it, 4 days to recover? Is that the math?
Now, I know you cut down the amount of days you're going to exercise, but what about the amount of time in your exercise? Because I believe you said you used to stay a long time, and now you just
Yes.
hit some things and get out.
You're very observant, Paul. You're very observant. I did say that. You notice like all these little things that I've said or say. It's just a good skill of yours. Yeah, I work out maybe 45 minutes to an hour and a half max. If I'm doing an hour and a half, I'm talking to friends, I'm dinking around. But ideally, in fact, my gym just changed the parking rule now. So it's 1 hour parking max, or you pay. And I'm like, well, it used to be an hour and a half, or you pay. So now I'm doing hour-long workouts because I don't want to pay the $3. So I'm going in there, getting everything done, leaving in an hour. An hour is plenty of time. And when I'm in there, the way I work out is very different than most people. Most people do 3 to 4 sets of everything, 3 to 4 sets of biceps, 3 to 4 sets of bench, all that stuff. I do 2 sets max. Sometimes 1 set. I'll go in there, just a set of bench press, boom, done, next. Like, you only need to give the muscle enough stimulus to grow, and then you can move on. There's no point in just hounding it, and just completely fatiguing it, because my goal is not to build endurance. My goal is to say, hey, I need you stronger. So I'm going to give you as much stimulus as I can just to make you understand we need strength. Then I'm going to chill. When we come back next week, you're going to be stronger. You got that? Cool.
Sure.
So because I used to do, when you do 4 sets, you're telling your bicep, hey, we need 4 sets. So remember that for next week. And so it holds in reserve this endurance, which you don't want if you're trying to get big. You want strength.
Sure. Now, I assume when you were going every day back in the day, you were working on different body parts, like one day shoulders, one day back. But now that you're doing it this way, I know there was a time where you switched off and you're like, I'm only going to do these particular exercises that are going to make me look bigger or builder. And they're the core exercise, the shoulder lifts and the chest, and not doing the minor stuff as much, or the body parts. You just do a full body workout now. So do you split it at all, lower body, upper body?
Yeah. My split is, I'm very proud of my split. It's fantastic. I do legs, biceps, and back on Tuesday. Because when you're hitting your back, or you're doing pull-ups, or you're doing rows or something, you're hitting your back, you're also using biceps. You might as well just nuke the biceps as well the same day, since they're already going to be hit. Just hit them really good. And then legs on that same day. And then Wednesday, I do shoulder press. And since my triceps are being used in the shoulder press, might as well also hit the triceps. And I do chest at the same day. So I do chest, shoulders, triceps the next day. And then Saturday, I do full body. So I do everything, legs, chest. Saturday is like typically my longest workout. Maybe use up the full hour, or maybe even hour and a half if I'm with friends. Saturday, I just do everything, because science shows you have to hit each muscle at least twice a week. I would say max twice a week, but science says at least. But you definitely don't want to hit a muscle more than 3 times a week. So if I'm hitting each muscle twice a week, which I am, and I have 4 days to recover total per week, that's a great combo.
Now, do you do any cardio at all now?
Yeah. I feel my best when I do cardio. I've neglected cardio I have neglected cardio in the past. And when I neglect cardio, I do find it a bit easier to just pack on weight and look bigger, but you just feel more like a blob, But when I do cardio, I feel like a full rounded athlete. So I like running. I like rowing. That's pretty much my only 2 cardio exercises I do.
So do you do your cardio exercise on your days off from the gym, or sometimes you do them both the same day?
I pretty much do them on the days off if I'm going to do them. Yeah. So I got to cardio on Monday, and I'll probably do cardio tomorrow.
Now, when you're doing things like rowing and running, so you're still working a muscle. So, would you run after if you're running right after the day of a leg workout? You
I
still,
can't run the day after a leg workout.
yeah,
No, I have to run on the days my legs are recovered.
and you won't do that. You won't do a rowing after a back workout,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah,
No, I've tried and oof, it's not good.
yeah. So, give us an example, not what you max out, but give us an example of what you. So you go into the gym. I know it's always trying to get a little bit better, but let's say bench press. What are you getting on the bench as a normal workout, not as a max? And do you try to max out every time, or do you just?
Yeah, well, yeah. So definitely that's a key part of it. Because I'm only doing 2 sets, right? So they got to count. And sometimes I do 1 set. So it really has to count. And so every time I go to the gym, every single time I go to the gym, I can show you my entire workout log. I should make a video soon showing my workout log, because every single week for the past many months, I've gotten a personal record in some way, shape, or form. And so I approach going to the gym. This might be a weird analogy, but I approach going to the gym like a bank robbery. You go in there, you get the money, and you bounce, right? Don't hang around. So I go into the gym, I try and get a personal record, and then I bounce. So personal record of some sort. I mean, I don't want to leave the gym unless I got a personal record. And so this forces me to really prioritize recovery in between workouts. So when I do go to the gym, I'm fully recovered and I can get that personal record. So when it comes to bench, for example, I typically do between rep range is like between like 6 to 15 reps. That's kind of my happy place. But I'll never go like 4 rep max or 3 rep max on bench. Just too heavy. I don't like that. It doesn't feel good on my joints. So I don't lift super heavy weights. I just lift enough so I can get a new record next week. It's probably heavy compared to some people, I guess. But let me just take a quick look right here. I'll show you what I did on bench.
And when you say you always do a little bit better, I mean, are we talking like a pound better each time, or are we talking like 10
Good question. Yeah, my gym doesn't have pound increments, so I have to add 2.5 each side, so it'd be 5 pounds improvements. But my January 14th, that was a few days ago, I did 185 pounds for 6 reps. So it's not like a crazy number. Guys, fully natural guys are doing way more than that. So I think it's funny when people accuse me of steroids, but then they look at my numbers and they're like, "Oh, your numbers are actually pretty weak." So,
and by the way, those of you that are watching, I don't want anyone to be discouraged or go by weight, because you know, there's a lot behind it to the size and how much a person weighs when we look at actually pounds, you know. Somebody that weighed, let's say, 50 pounds less than you and was 5 inches shorter than you, lifting 185, that'd be a lot for them. Like that'd be a lot for anyone. But you know, so you can't. We're not saying this on a comparative scale. We're not going through this for that. We're
yes,
just curiosity of what
totally. Yeah, what I like to do is I like to have like strength standards. So, for example, I was watching a YouTube video yesterday, and this guy's like, if you want to see how strong your biceps are, you're considered to have very strong biceps if you can curl, sitting down, if you can curl 50% of your body weight for 8 reps. So each hand 50%. So for example, I weigh 160, or 170, let's say. So 170 divided by 2 is, what is that? It's like 42. No.
Yeah.
Is it 42?
That'd be 84. That'd be 84.
Yeah, 84 divided by 2, which is 42 pounds each side. So I grabbed the 40-pound dumbbells today, and I did 7 reps. So it's recommended to just take your body weight into account when trying to see how much you can rep, you know? Because like you said, if I weigh 200 pounds, it'd be much easier for me to curl 50 pounds.
Now, I always went by the idea of, so if you could do more than 10 reps, it's too light for muscle building. And if you know if you do more than 10, it's too light. But you know, it depends on somebody's exercise style.
Yeah, it depends on the exercise too. Like I find for the most part that's true. But if you look at something like a lateral raise, it's a very small muscle, right?
Yeah.
So for lateral raises, I do like 15 reps.
Or triceps, exactly.
Or tricep extensions, yeah.
Yeah.
So I do 15 to even 20 reps on those sometimes. But for the most part, 10 reps is like the range. Like I said, I do between 6 and 15 reps. Because my favorite one, I close my eyes and like picture going to the gym, the pleasure I get is from like those higher rep sets, like the 15 reps where I just really feel the pump. I love those higher rep sets. In fact,
Now, do you save
yeah,
the smaller exercises or the smaller muscles for after you've done the big ones, or do you just mix it up?
no, that's a good question. That's a good question. If you do hit the smaller muscles first, they're probably going to get the best stimulus for growth, but then they're going to weaken all the rest of the workout, right? So, like I said, the most important thing for me to do is go in there and get a personal record. And so if I go in there and I'm like, oh, you know what, I don't feel like I could get a bench press record today. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get a lateral raise record today, which to me is not as important as a freaking lateral raise, but I'll do it anyway just to get the record. Then the following week, I'll go back and I'll get the bench press record. So some days I do prioritize the smaller muscles first, but it's very rare. I only do those on the days where my confidence is a little lower and I want to get a record anyway.
And correct me if I'm wrong, when you say a record, you're not only talking about the amount of weight, you're also talking about how many reps you can do. Because if you're talking about weight only, I mean, and you keep going up, I mean, in just a short amount of time, it'll be
Yes,
too much.
very good point. I create a menu for myself of rep ranges. So I have like a 25 rep record, a 24 rep record, a 23 rep record, all the way to a 1 rep max record, right? So I've got a menu to choose from. So when today I wake up and I'm like, okay, I want to do like a pull-up record. What kind of rep range do I want to go for? And I was like, let's get the pull-up record on the 18 reps. Cool. Slap on a much smaller weight. And then next week I'll be like, okay, let's get the 6 rep record. Let's do like a 2 rep max on pull-ups. Pull-ups I'd like to do low rep too sometimes, but yeah, good point. I have a whole menu to choose from.
Now, how is your the time you exercise in terms of with the way you said you eat 2 times a day, which is excellent times to eat and way to go with that, but the times you exercise, like for me, I got to get my exercise done early in the morning. If I don't, my day is too busy. I'm not doing it at night. But there was a time in my life where I did do it at night. So what are you doing?
Yeah, I've heard from people and I've experienced this myself before that working out in the evening, you're stronger. You just have more testosterone or something going on, or you got more cortisol or something. I don't know what it is exactly. Or you got more calories, so you're fully stuffed up. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm definitely am stronger in the evening. So it might be wise for me if I do want to get absolute max gains out of this journey I'm on to do it in the evening. But like you, I feel my best when I do it first thing in the morning. And it's just what I've always done. Just wake up, warm up a little bit and then get to the workout.
Now that idea of stronger, I mean, that's relative because you might be able to lift more at night because you have more whatever energy or whatever it is. But with the maybe your tank being less full from a certain standpoint, the more you do, it's still reaching the same level to a degree. Like, so if you might be able to lift more weight at night and a little bit more in the morning, but if you're truly stronger at night, you're still hitting your body both sides possibly. I don't know. So I know what you're saying though. You're basing that on achieving your records more at night than in the morning or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and when I do it in the evening too, I don't feel like I need to warm up as much. Like when I go to the gym first thing in the morning, I feel like I need to do a couple warm up sets and I just got out of bed an hour ago, whatever. So, but in the evening time, I can show up and just bam, let's act. So.
Yeah. And then when it comes to your diet, I mean, so if you work out in the morning or at night, and I'm still not sure, do you work out in the morning or night? Because you said
Morning.
you like
Morning.
morning. Okay. So
yesterday was one example. It was my friend's birthday. I'm like, what are you doing for your birthday? He's like, let's go to the gym. So
okay.
I went to the gym in the evening, but that was so rare. And the gym was freaking packed. I don't recommend it. Look, it's like a zoo in here, man.
That's another negative thing about going at night. So you're going on an empty stomach before you eat your first meal usually?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. And what about your sleep? How many hours a night do you normally sleep?
I have an Aura ring, which tracks it. And I just got my 2022 stats in. So I averaged 8 hours a night.
Great.
According to my Aura ring.
Okay, I'm not familiar with what the Aura ring is, but
you put it on before you go to bed, and it tracks the time you fall asleep. It tracks the time you wake up.
Can't you just look at the clock and track?
but then you have to like manually understand that. This just does it for you. Don't even think about it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. But it also tracks your like REM and your restlessness and how much you're waking up and how much you're moving around and your blood oxygen levels. It tracks a whole bunch of things. But I only care about the duration, like you said.
Got you. And And when you go to the gym, is it normally by yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. If I do go with friends, I'm wasting so much time. We're just,
Yeah, yeah. Well, very cool, man. And that's great. And I want everyone to be encouraged and check out your website. I'm going to put it below the link here. You can
oh,
see pictures of Ted and all his topics he speaks about. It's not only this topic, but this is a topic that he's come to realize is such a missing key when it comes to the raw food diet or just veganism or just anything. Like he said, even if you eat McDonald's, fitness is such an important role, and figuring out that level where you don't have to, I always tell people, Ted, is when it comes to food, we should eat the foods that give us the most nutrients while using the least amount of energy to eat them. And the same thing for exercising. We should do the most efficient, be as efficient as possible, and use our time wisely. And I think it's really cool what you're doing. And I'm glad to see somebody in a fruitarian or vegan field here is taking fitness seriously. It's a great thing.
yeah. And there's so many ways of doing fitness. Like, just because I lift weights doesn't mean everybody should lift weights. But you get a group of people together and you say, raise your hands if you want to be weaker next month. Nobody's going to raise their hand. And then you say, raise your hand if you want to be stronger next week, or at least maintain the strength you have now for the next 5 years. Every hand's going to go up, right? Then you say, okay, keep your hands up if you're doing something to get stronger physically every week. And then all the hands go down. So people are saying they want one thing, which is their strength, but they're not doing anything about it. And they're getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And then, people from the outside look in and be like, oh, you're so weak because you're on a vegan diet or whatever. It's like, no, they're just not training properly. They're not training at all, a lot of them, So if you do want strength, which you probably do, you should probably work out strength at least once a week, and this is easy advice for me to give. I know it's hard advice for people to actually take and execute on, because I hear the same thing with flexibility. Like you ask me, Ted, do you want to be stiff or do you want to be flexible? I'll tell you I want to be flexible. And yet I'm doing no stretching exercises, so we all have our weaknesses. One of my things, I don't stretch enough. And whenever I do stretch, I don't really enjoy it. And I've hired private yoga teachers to come to my house and do yoga with me, and I just don't do it. Like it's one of those things. So maybe in the future, I don't know. Do you do yoga flexibility training at all?
No, no, I don't do near as much as I should with the stretching as well.
And at the same time, do you feel like you'd benefit if you were more flexible and agile?
100%, 100%, 100%.
So this is like us giving people advice to like lift weights and stuff, right? It's like you can take a really skinny yogini who can wrap herself into a pretzel, but she can't do a pull-up or a push-up,
Exactly.
She wants to be stronger, but she doesn't execute on the strength training. I want to be more flexible. I want to execute on my flexibility training. So it's hard to be a freaking overall perfect human in every way, shape, and form, man. But if you're interested in something, then you can make it happen. There's plenty of people like you and I teaching how to do it.
Exactly. I remember when I traveled a lot and I couldn't get to a gym, I tried to do just push-ups and pull-ups and run, just to do something, to keep your muscles somewhat toned. And some people do that. They do that. There's tremendous amount of people that do calisthenics and look amazing online. For me, I like the gym. Some people might like, doing outdoor courses and things like this. And you got to find, if you want to do this long term, you got to enjoy it. You can't just do something you don't enjoy.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. There's so many ways of doing fitness, right? You can be a dancer. You can be a tightrope walker. There's also a yogini. There's so many different types of fitness, swimmers, runners, cyclists. So yeah, not that you have to go to the gym and lift weights. You can also do push-ups, like you said.
Another important thing is, I want everyone to know this, and I'm sure you know this, but if you don't, it's important, is if you get a minor injury or you don't feel like you feel something's wrong, take a break. It's going to hurt you a lot more if you try to work through it. I mean, because if you have to be out for a week, but you try to work through it, you can injure yourself worse and then be out for much longer. I've experienced that, and it's not wise to try to work through an injury. Let your body heal.
Yes. Or at least modify the movement so that there's no pain.
Yeah, exactly. And that doesn't mean, when I say take a break, that doesn't mean don't be fit and stay fit. That means don't make the injury worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Even if like I hear people sometimes come up with excuses. Like I see like a guy with a big gut or something, right? He's like, oh, I got a big gut because I got a shoulder injury and I couldn't work out. I'm like, dude, you could have gone running. You know, you could have done a bunch of body weight squats. You could have done walks every day. You could have freaking jumped up and down on a rebounder. You know, you could do something, you know? So I hurt my wrist a while ago. I fell and slipped on it and really hurt it, probably sprained it. But I just wrapped it up and I modified my movement. So when I did go to the gym, there was no pain,
yeah.
you know?
So tell us, when you do your cardio, like, is it real light, or do you go, like, how much do you do cardio on your days off?
So I come from like it's a professional triathlon background. So cardio is like ingrained in me. I grew up playing soccer. So running for me, doing cardio comes very, very naturally. So I like to push it. I do like to push it. But and I like to do time trials. So I like to see what I can do for 5K, what I can do for 1K. Those sorts of things. I'm not like much of like the high intensity interval kind of guy. I'm much more of like a time trialist.
Okay, but
Triathlon
you're not like
background.
going and running a marathon on your day off. You're not doing anything like that, are you?
No.
Okay.
5K is typically max. I'll do like 20 minutes of cardio max.
And I tell people, look, to measure where you are cardiovascular wise, if you can get under a 10-minute mile, then you're somewhat okay. As a light measure to where you're
let
at.
me do a quick conversion of that. Let me see what that is in kilometers. What is a mile to kilometers? 1.6 kilometers in 10 minutes. The math is so hard on that. I guess that's like if you were to run 1.6 kilometers in 10 minutes. Okay, I'm not even gonna try and convert that, but my recommendation is like you should be able to do a 5-minute kilometer. So I don't know if that is in line with your recommendation, but if you can't do a 5-minute kilometer, you got work to do.
And a kilometer is what?
1,000 meters.
I mean, a kilometer. How many miles in a kilometer?
2.5 laps around the track is a kilometer.
Okay, good. This is good. So 4 times around the track is a mile.
Okay, so
that would be
oh,
5.
So you're saying 4? Oh, I'm saying 2.5 laps you should do in 5 minutes, but you're saying 4 laps you should do 10 minutes. So you should definitely
under 10 minutes. So we're on the same
Yeah.
level. Under 10 minutes. So we're around the right thing.
Yeah, right around the same.
Very good and very cool, man. Well, man, I appreciated talking to you, and I want people to just look at the fitness part of it. Again, you don't need to run to your gym, but you need to be fit, and no matter how much you're eating or what you're eating, whatever label yourself, fitness is tremendously important. And I'm going to put Ted's link below if you want to learn more about his workout routine. And
I'm curious. You mentioned the link below a few times. I'm curious what link you're going to put below because I don't even know.
Your website.
Well, I got multiple websites. I don't know which one you're going to put.
I'm going to tell you, send me what you want to put below, and I'll put that below.
Sounds good.
I always tell people, let me know what links you want people to put for contact, and any link Ted wants that is relative to this interview, we'll put below, and you can contact him there. He's also on social media, on Instagram, and he's on Facebook and all those other places and spaces, right?
That's it, man.
Cool. So for people that are curious, I mean, again, not that it matters, but you go by how we look and all this stuff. What's your age?
I am 32.
32. Okay.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, man, thank you so much for taking the time out today. And now what's up with the treadmill that you're walking on? Is this you can't sit still, or is this you got a goal to reach?
Well,
steps you want? What's going on with that?
Yeah, it's I did the math one time and the math was startling. The math was, I sleep for 8 hours a day and I work out for an hour 3 times a week, right? So when I'm not working out, I'm just sitting, and so I'm like, well, if I sleep 8 hours a day and I'm only getting up to go to the fridge or something, like the rest of the time I'm just stagnant. I'm sitting down all fucking day. I'm laying down all effing day and my blood is stagnant. There's no lymph movement because I only work out 3 days a week. So that means 4 days of the week I'm completely, disabled physically. That's not healthy at all. What animal in nature just sits and sleeps, especially as a human? That is not right. Imagine you look at a child in the playground and he just sits and sleeps all day. Like, that is not right. And I did the math. I was like, dude, I'm only working out an hour. That's 23 hours of inactivity, even on my workout days. 23 hours of inactivity or 24 hours of inactivity on a non-workout day. I'm like, that is not right. So I got this treadmill over the past, I think a year or so ago. Instant game changer, man. I instantly went from feeling just stagnant lymph to feeling like a freaking Olympic athlete, just always ready, always sharp, always like, I feel like a professional athlete again. Like I'm just an endurance athlete who's got a lot of muscle now because I can walk forever. So highly recommend it. Now I walk like 20,000 steps a day, walk for maybe 3, 4, 5 hours a day. And it's great for Zooms. It's great for Zooms. It's great for a lot of my meetings. Yeah, it's awesome. I like it.
Very cool. I remember I interviewed what's that guy, Drurian rider years ago. Years ago. I'm talking a long time ago. And this guy's riding bikes all over the world. And he said, anyone that has kids is getting more exercise than I am. Even with all the bike riding, because it's consistently keeping you on your feet. And
Oh,
there
with
are
kids.
certain, and
With kids.
yeah, he was saying kids, and there's certain occupations that people have for a living that keep them much more active than others. But when you're doing
Yeah.
what you and I do in front of the computer a lot, it's an excellent point what you just said.
But there's a stagnation factor, but then there's also the posture factor. Like your posture right now, if you just look at an X-ray, it's like that naturally, right?
Yeah.
Why else why would you be any other way? You're at the computer. But you're not going to be like that if you're walking. If you're walking, you're just upright. So your spinal integrity over time gets improved whilst walking. Not to
Isn't
mention your foot strength, your hip strength. Dude, when I first got this, my hips were aching, but now they're rock solid. They can go forever. So
isn't that the concept too of the standing desk that people are into? The same kind of
well,
idea.
no, watch this. So if I pause this, tell you why standing desk isn't as good. Because if I whatever, I turned it on again. But if I'm just standing, I'll turn it off. Then I have a tendency to just do that. Or I have a tendency to put all my weight on one hip, just like drop the hip.
You got it.
Right. And so I notice I'm like this a lot if I'm on a standing desk, or it's like, and I see everyone do that too. So you have to either have a treadmill, or I see people have like they balance on like a ball, they're like constantly balancing. So yeah, you got to do something. Otherwise you're going to still have bad posture.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, cool. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us, and I look forward to having you back again and answer more questions for some of the audience. And everybody, get down to the links below the video. Ted, have a blessed day, man. Keep up the great work.
I'll give you a link for the treadmill. You get it on Amazon for like $500.
All right, put it below. That'd be awesome.
Cool.
And it's a good treadmill.
Yeah, it's lasted forever. I even bought one for upstairs too. They're amazing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thanks a lot. Any other tips you have, let us know. And thank you. And thanks everybody for watching. Until then, everybody have a great day and a great real life. Thanks a lot, Ted.